Home Depot, and typically at this time of the year we see a sharp increase in activity in the Atlantic Basin, and that is exactly what has happened. We now have two systems, a tropical storm and a tropical depression, and with more on that now, our tropical weather expert, Dr. Steve Lyons.
Well, thanks, Carl. And Carl is right on cue. The tropics have become active. The climatology of the large scale is very powerful forecast tool in the long range. We have two systems, our tropical storm here in the very southern Gulf of Mexico, and also a tropical depression out here in the far eastern Atlantic Ocean. Now let's go first to our tropical storm. That's Bret, and as of 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time, the position 19.9 north, 94.7 west, about 110 miles east-southeast of Veracruz, Mexico. And by the way, Veracruz, the last observation, winds about 25 to 30 miles an hour along the coast, so already fairly windy there. Now the maximum winds are about 40 miles per hour, and those have been observed in the northern portion of the tropical storm, up and through here, not on the eastern, southern, or western side of the storm. Maximum winds on the northern side only. And right now it looks like it's almost stationary. It's not moving too much. The pressure has fallen based on the reconnaissance, the Air Force reserves out there, at a measured 1,000 millibar pressure. Now there are tropical storm warnings up. That means tropical storm force winds are likely within 24 hours, and of course we just mentioned 25 to 30 mile an hour winds right in here. And as the system creeps very slowly, as anticipated, to the west-northwest, those tropical storm force winds may encroach on the coast. And also the system is anticipated to intensify a little bit, still remain a storm, but intensify a little bit, and that's another reason why we may see those storm winds come up along the coast there. Now here's a look at the latest image here, and the circulation center is roughly right in through here. Now, it doesn't look all that impressive on satellite imagery, and last night it did the same thing. A lot of the deep thunderstorm activity started to go away a little bit, but it came back early in the morning and continued to develop through the day. We'll monitor that closely tonight because the impact associated with this system is primarily right now a rain event. In other words, if we look at our impact potential along the Mexican coast anyway, the wind impact is relatively low. The winds are not all that strong to produce major damage. The surge impact also is relatively low due to the coastal bathymetry and the wind strength. Now the wave impact could be significant when we get some beach erosion, but the big impact right now is the potential for heavy rain with the system moving as slow as it is right now. You can see here on the large scale, the environment overall is getting a little more favorable with this upper anticyclone over the top of the circulation. We'll keep you advised of that and what the hurricane reconnaissance gives us as we go hour by hour tonight. The rest of the Caribbean relatively quiet tonight, an anticyclone over the southwest with showers. The rest of the Caribbean rather uneventful. We go out far out into the eastern Atlantic is where we have Tropical Depression 4. Present position is 14 north, 22.8 west, and the winds are 35 miles an hour, moving west at 9. Now the good news about this is that it's already relatively far north, so it's unlikely for it to move south. So the southern portion of the islands are probably in pretty good shape right now, and right now we do not see any significant intensification of the system. The thunderstorm activity is dying away just a little bit. We expect a slow turn toward the west-northwest, becoming a storm. That would be Cindy if that does happen. That's it for the tropics. Now let's get back to Carl.
All right, we do have some active weather here in parts of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and on down into the southeast associated with this system right here. Let's take a closer look at what's going on here. We've had a number of reports of severe weather back into Kentucky. Big line of thunderstorms right now extending from London and on down towards Bowling Green, or just a little farther towards the east here. So 75, right along 75 into Tennessee, you can see some very strong storms over the next couple of hours. We're also seeing some action just to the west of Charlottesville, so watch out here into Somerset. These storms will continue to move along towards the east. They may dump very heavy rain. You could see frequent lightning and some very gusty winds, and eventually reaching into the D.C. area as well.
for joining us for this edition of Storm Watch. I'm Sharon Rizalton. We continue to watch some active weather across the eastern U.S. as thunderstorms are firing up close to Washington, D.C. and in and around the Richmond area. In addition to that, the tropics are heating up. We'll begin there first. Starting you out first with a little history here. We keep talking about how things have been rather inactive so far this 99 season, but very typical to see a spike in activity in early September. As we go through August and on into September, that's when we really start to see the tropics heating up. The average peak right around September 10th. So we've only just begun here, and things are just starting to wind up. Starting out first around the Gulf of Mexico, specifically around the Bay of Campeche, we continue to look at Tropical Storm Bret, and there are the latest coordinates. The latest recon indicating again our intermediate advisory that the pressure remains at around 1,000 millibars. Sustained winds may be as high as maybe 55 miles per hour, just a gust there, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. In the meantime, the main gist to get out of this is that it is nearly stationary. It's over very warm water, and that's the key. And as long as it's over that warm water and it's moving slowly, there is certainly the opportunity for this to strengthen, so we'll be keeping an eye out for that. The actual track, too soon to actually say, but it is expected to make more of a northwestern movement as we head through time. And we've got plenty of time to watch this, of course, because of the slow movement. Main threat, we think, with this, at least in the short term, is going to be the potential for some flooding rains as all that tropical moisture begins to feed in on shore. So we do have some tropical storm warnings as far north as Tampico, Mexico. We'll continue to watch out for that. All right, let's show you the satellite picture here. And again, still, you can get a feel for some rotation down here as we head into the Bay of Campeche. We'll continue to watch this, and one of the things that we'll continue to look for is to see that convection around that center of circulation. So still a healthy looking tropical storm. As we venture a little further eastward, not a whole lot to talk about. The usual convection that fires up over the land masses here around Hispaniola and over Cuba, and very typical to see that form during the heating of the day and then tend to die out slowly as we head through the overnight. We do have another tropical depression all the way out here in the eastern Atlantic, not far from the Cape Verde Islands, about 65 miles south of the Cape Verde Islands, as a matter of fact. Winds of 35 miles per hour. These are the sustained winds. It's moving to the west at 9 miles per hour. And the latest satellite imagery is indicating that this may be undergoing some northeasterly shear. It's not looking as healthy as it once did. So we'll continue to kind of keep an eye out for this. It's a huge distance away from any of the islands, not to mention the U.S., so we have plenty of time to watch this if it indeed would even have a chance for strengthening. All right, we're going to take you on out into the Pacific. This is Dora, almost ready to cross the date line. And then there's Tropical Storm Fernanda out here in the eastern Pacific with winds of 55 miles per hour. This too could continue to strengthen, but again, it's moving away from land, so it would mainly be a threat to shipping interests. And at this point, not looking too terribly impressive, as a lot of that convection is lost around the center of circulation. Back to the lower 48, we're going to find the monsoonal flow kicking up out to the west. We continue to find spotty areas of severe weather as we head into the east. So again, into Barnwell County, a tornado warning in effect in South Carolina. Doppler radar indicated, but again, you need to take shelter in the possibility that we could find a tornado in that region. South of this warm front, very steamy atmosphere. To the north of it, somewhat cooler, and right along that warm front we're finding some pretty active weather with a line of thunderstorms stretching from just south of D.C. back down toward the Richmond area. So we'll continue to keep a very close eye out for that. All right, there's one radar perspective. Let me zoom in around D.C. and you'll be able to see that line of thunderstorms. Again, bowing out just a little bit, so it's an indication that there could be some pretty strong straight line winds. Much of this has already crossed over I-95, but still just in the western suburbs of Richmond and around the Petersburg area, so we'll kind of need to keep an eye out for that region. And finally, watch out, this line of thunderstorms not really moving very much at all, so not only the threat for a tornado here, but also for some localized flooding. Very heavy rain likely with those thunderstorms. We'll be back with more on the active weather next on Weather Center.
Will storms in the Midwest bring much-needed relief to parched areas of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast? Details plus what's in store for your weekend ahead on Weather Center.
This is our dream house.
Some dream.
Come back down this way.
Took him 2 years to choose the building materials.
It's like a canary, isn't it?
He's obsessed.
I'm thorough. I have this whole card catalog system. Did an interview process on the crew. I just need some information. So we're thinking about going turn of the century in here. That sound good? I like to know what's under the carpet. You know, what's over my head. I chose...